Oh, and he was telling me about a hive and a gas hive.
And that's enough. That's fine. Love it. Right. Goff, any news from you this week?
Yeah, my brother-in-law's got a wooden leg.
He's got what? Woodruck.
No, I've got no archaeological news, so I'm afraid. It's been very quiet. Sorry.
Yeah, it's
And shut up. Right, Goff.
the only thing I saw today was that the Game of Thrones, which is like very popular in various places.
That's right. Yeah, that's good. Love it. Right, Richard, anything from you this week?
No, nothing from me.
And tell us about the Game of Thrones quickly.
No, and my cousin who lives over
Yeah, that's enough. Henry.
County Down, actually is near some of the sets, you know.
Yeah,
there's a museum over there, and
yeah,
she sent some photos. It's on Facebook.
And there's some high impact Evo stick here if you want it. Right, Henry, anything from you?
They're working on a site in southern Arabia where they've discovered a manufacturing site for making stone blades, and it dates to 80,000 years ago.
Get off!
It is.
Hey, you're there.
Oh, yeah, I'm back temporarily.
Who else is speaking? The bloody Pope? Right, yeah, well done, Henry. So where's this, Henry?
Southern Arabia.
Oh, well,
there you go.
There you go.
It's very old. Well,
yeah. It is, Anne. It is, Anne. Yeah.
Tell you what, you can write that one down.
Yeah, I just did. I put it behind the bin.
No images. Are there?
Are there any images? Yeah,
oh.
we're going to look this up because we're sort of into that one today. So we're gonna
arconews.net.
All right.
We're on it now. Right.
Oldest evidence of stone blade production, Southern Arabia.
Arconews.net.
I used to think Arabia was
archaeology and archaeology.
A lovely name.
Yeah, you missed an E out there.
Oh, don't mind it. Oh, there we go. Archeo News. We got it. Roman camps. Hang on, what's this about? 3 Roman camps in Arabia.
Oh yeah, that was secondary news. That's old.
Oh yeah. So hang on. What are we looking for? There's David Icke there. If we want to talk about him.
It's not really called Arabia, though, is it?
Hang on a minute. I'm trying to find what we're looking for.
Oh.
You want to put in stone blade production?
Oh, don't worry. We'll just scroll through it now.
Hold on. It'll be about. Keep going.
Not that one.
Not that one. We're not doing that one. Not doing that one. We're not doing mirrors today.
Oh man, no, not those ones.
And we're not doing gladiators because it's Roman.
Oh, for God's sake.
We'll avoid that.
There.
No, that's something else. There it is.
There it is. Right. Hang on a minute. They weren't building walls like that. Surely the God. Right. Okay. Obviously, that wall's not associated with this because if they were building walls 80,000 years ago like that, then that's something else. Who? Yeah, we missed something. Yeah, I think we have. Right. The oldest evidence. What?
Scroll down the page.
Hang on a minute. I haven't started yet.
Well, you're a bit slow.
The oldest evidence of stone blade production in southern Arabia, 80,000 years old, stone blades discovered. Right. So we've got to click on it, have we? There we go.
You just go down. Just
there. There it is. So an international team of researchers led by Nut Bredzi uncovered 80,000-year-old stone blades at the rock shelter site of Jebel Faya in the yeah, there we go. The Empire of Sharjah. They couldn't make
The
this
Emirates.
easier, could they? Yeah, there we go. Right. The discovery of the oldest evidence to date ever, right? There's a bloody horse going down the lane. Systematic production of stone blades on the Arabian Peninsula makes a significant advancement in the understanding of prehistoric human technology. And this discovery provides new insights into the history of human habitation in Arabia and the possible routes used by Homo sapiens in their expansion out of Africa. All right, flipping heck, Christ almighty. Right, here we go. It goes on to say the study emphasized the crucial role of Southern Arabia in the cultural evolution and diversification of early human populations in Southwest Asia, with the artifacts being dated to approximately 80,000 years using luminescence techniques. There we go. There we go. Luminescence techniques. There you go. It's brilliant. And it goes on to say, what we've got is it's looking at the marked by dramatic changes, transitioning from a period of favorable conditions characterized by permanent rivers and lakes, beginning around 130,000 years ago, to an extreme arid phase that significantly influenced human settlement and cultural practices. And you've got some good illustrations there. The finders suggest that while Northern and Southern Arabia experienced distinctive cultural developments during this transition, the shared traditions in stone tool production indicate a complex interplay of human activity across the peninsula. This differential is crucial. And there we go. Actually, I'll tell you what, they look fairly advanced to me, to be honest with you. Not bad for 80,000 years ago. Yeah, we were still producing that type of stuff 10,000 years ago. And there's more of them. So these are blades. Obviously a variety of different uses. And the luminescence is associated with the layers that they're excavating, not the luminescence on the flints. So obviously, by dating the layers that the flints are in, you're able to, in turn, give a date to the flints. And obviously, the stone blades there. And obviously, they've got to be flint. They don't look like they're anything else. Are they flinted? We haven't actually got any further yet. So they're talking about relatively thin and uniform blades, indicate efficient manufacturing methods, and are flexible in use. And there it is. Now, we're going to go to this little bit here, and we're going to say something else. So research indicates that the global expansion of Homo sapiens occurred in multiple waves, with evidence from this site, Jebel Faya, suggesting that one such migration along the southern Arabian Peninsula took place around 80,000 years ago. However, a notable challenge remains. The absence of Paleolithic human remains in southern Arabia limits the ability to conduct genetic analysis that could provide deeper insights into the population that once inhabited the areas. So in other words, the populations related to this have either moved on, died out, or and that's that. But we're assuming that these Homo sapiens have come from Africa. There's obviously that age-old debate whether these people may have evolved from somewhere else. Now, what we did last night, if we put the blades up there again, I just gotta get my notes.
Did you do this last night?
No, we didn't do it last night.
No, this is new. Anyway,
I know.
Is that the old Stone Age, or is that?
Yeah, it's the old Stone Age. So it's the lower Paleolithic period.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the lower Paleolithic period. Now, a few other things that we did last night. We did a bit of a splurge of archaeological discoveries, because what I was also asked was about the live show. So we discussed that last night. We also discussed about an Egyptian tomb that they've been excavating, and also the largest Viking building ever in the history of the world to be found in Cumbria. And that's a fact, Goff. Ever.
Ah, must be, yeah.
That is in the article. It says ever. Ever. Right. So before we actually carry on, you want me? Let's have a little bit of me, right? So I wanted to say that oh yeah, don't forget the monies this month. There's a couple of you who have paid this month, and there's a couple of you who haven't paid this month. So I'm not going to say who, but don't forget the monies for next month, which is £50. So and the month after. So that get that over to us. That'll be great. So that's that out of the way. So we had the live show, and
oh, you had it. Oh, at Lampeter.
Yeah, we've had the live show in Lampeter. Now, I wanted to tell you a few things. We and this is based on a phone call I had 2 nights ago. So this was on Saturday, and the phone call I had 2 nights ago was from somebody wanting to rebook one of the dates, and I've said, why didn't you come up to Uster Gunlight? So he said, yeah, I'll come to Uster Gunlight instead of one of the other dates. And I explained about how the show went. There was 4 of us on stage, which I think was too many, and there was too much going on, and it took away from what I was wanting to put across. So there's some changes being made. So the first show was going to be to work out what we needed to do to change things, right? So I've decided that 2 of the people in the performance won't be used. I'm bringing in a new actor who will be very familiar to you, Anne, right? Which I'm not going to say who they are yet. And also I'm in an RN. We spent a lot of money in making a Mary Lloyd. In fact, we spent hundreds of pounds in putting a Mary Lloyd together, and we were still making the Mary Lloyd and putting its ears on and its eyes in and stuff the night before. Right now, one thing this gentleman said to me over the phone, he said, I just want to come along to hear you. Right, I don't want myths and legends. I want to hear about, what we're looking at. The Lady of Pavlan Cave, which is a complete forgery as far as I'm concerned. And we're looking at the Mole Cape and the mistakes made with that. We're looking at the missing coins. I've even managed to get hold of a copy of the only coin associated with the Welsh King in Cymru, Wales. That cost me £40 from the States. So anyway, so we've got some changes that which we're making. So when we do Uster Gunlight, it's going to be very different.
Oh, I'm not going there. Are you anyone going there?
Nobody's going there, but by the time we've done Uster Gunlight, we will be able to bring the new actor on board, and she will be very much with it. And we've never worked together on stage before either, but it's somebody who Anne. So there you go.
Oh.
So back to what we did last night. So what we did, there were those topics. What I actually want to what the theme is tonight after I've done these articles is to do an overview of the Iron Age, right? I want us to be finished at 9 at the latest, right? I want us to do a bit of an overview, right? And I want to talk about something exciting for next week, right? Because there's a site that is really changing what we think about the Iron Age. They basically found a new Iron Age town, right? Which was very similar to that town, which is near Reading, which the modern name is Silchester, right? And the name is
Abergawe.
Caliver Atrabatum, right? So what we've got, excitingly enough, we're looking at the excavation and the findings of basically a new city from the Iron Age. It's really, really recent over the past few years, and that's it, right? So it starts with a D and it ends with an S. So there we go. That's all we're gonna tell you. But I'm really excited to be bringing this to you next week. So that'll be absolutely brilliant. And one of the things that actually I'll do this before the articles actually. One of the things that I'm one of the things I've been one of the things I've been indicating for a long time, and lots of archaeologists have been talking about this, is the role of women in the Iron Age, right? And by now, it must become very evident to you guys that women have seemingly got an equal role in the Iron Age. You get women who are associated with chariot burials. You get men who are associated with chariot burials, but you get women associated with chariot burials, right? You've got these female leaders at the end of the Iron Age, like karl-james, and you've got female leaders like Boudica, right? And you're thinking, well, how have we got Boudica? You know, it's not a male that's leading the people to rebel against the Romans. It's a damnable woman. But karl-james is also doing the same up north with the Brigantes, right? So the obvious, and also you get women buried with wonderful things in the Iron Age, right? As much as men get buried with wonderful things in the Iron Age. And you get bog bodies equal, isn't it? Female bog bodies, male bog bodies. And you're thinking, hang on a minute, this is a society that almost sees equality between men and women, right? This isn't a woke culture thing, you know, which we're doing today, right? And women should have equal equality with men, but what I'm trying to say is that what we're looking at with the Iron Age, this is also something else, right? The site that we're going to look at next week. Oh, am I giving away too much, right? The site that we're going to look at next week, they've done DNA on the remains of the people found there, right? And this is a fact. They found that the majority of people buried at this site, which we're going to do next week, the land has been passed through the female line, which means only one thing, that when the women die or whoever, it's handed down through the female line, right? So let's bring us up to speed, right? Did Prasutagus have a male heir when he was married to Boudicca, right? Even if he did have a male heir, it wasn't going to go down the male line with the Iceni people. It was going to go down the female line of the Iceni people. So that means, let's just say it, that women have got a higher role in Iron Age society in Britain than men, right? Yeah. And this is what we're looking at. So let's so I've given too much away for next week, but the archaeology is really exciting anyway. So what I want to do is I want to look at these bits of archaeology that we found last night, and what we're going to do is hopefully it will come up on the screen straight away. And if we go to, I got to be honest with you, Goff remembers the first class I ever gave in a goat shed.
In a what? Goat shed.
In the goat shed. Yeah, I gave an archaeology class in a goat shed. It's true. Honestly, can't make it up. Right. So this discovery that's come out really recently, about the largest Viking building in the UK. There we go. And it does use the word ever in one of these articles, right? So there we go. If we click onto that, archaeologists find significant Viking building. That's not the building. Well, actually, it is a building. That's a corn drying kiln. Yeah. So the first image that you get, they found a big building there, but the first image that we got in this press report is a corn dryer, right? I've excavated a medieval corn dryer, and I'm really proud of that. And in a different period, they were naturally drying corn. So, but this is from the Viking period, and naturally we've got corn dryers in the Iron Age as well, and they're very similar to these as well in the medieval period as well. The Viking period, we're roughly looking at what's the dates of the Viking period? AD 800, AD 900 in Britain. So anyway, 13th of February, this is really new. Archaeologists have unearthed what they believe to be a Viking Age building in Cumbria, at a place known as Silloth. And this was quite interesting to my people on a Tuesday. And by the way, Pat joined us last night because she thought it was Wednesday. She does apologise to you all. Anyway, so what we've got is a large hall of the late Viking Age. So we'll do this information in a minute. But what we've got is they've indicated on the ground the size of this large hall. Right, you can see the vehicles on the left. You can see the size of how big this building is, and you can see there that they're uncovering some of the huge post holes. Right, so these are massive post holes, huge post holes. Right. And there they are excavating, some of the post holes. There we go. Article: Carbon dating of the timber large hall of the late Viking Age.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, that it's been a wonderful excavation that they've been undertaking. And archaeology was totally delivered by community volunteers, obviously managed by professional archaeologists. So what we've got this big site here, right? And then what the caption's wrong there. If you read through it, it should say early medieval Viking, right, in that caption. So we've got a corn dryer over on the left-hand side. We've got this huge house. It's a bit like I don't know if you've ever seen the program Detectorists. It's a bit like that where they fly above the landscape. Yeah, you know the one, and they've just missed the ship. Yeah, I love it. Mackenzie Cook. But anyway,
It was on its way.
so there we go. Mr. Gray. Detectorists, love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So there's a 94% chance of dating this building to the 990s, 1040s. It's Viking. And one thing that was making Roger and me really angry last night is these with 10th and 11th. Right? Why do archaeologists use this outdated way of communicating dates? Because when you say the 10th, it's like, oh, it's the 1000s, isn't it? It's the 1100s. No, it's not. It's the 900s and it's the 1000s. And I this is another thing when I'm doing presentations, I skip the 10th and I directly translate it. But when you're talking about archaeology and you're trying to put this across, you've got to go straight for the jugular. So if I'm saying the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th century, people are trying to work out what date is that? Hate that. Anyway, this guy there he is. Now, does that guy look like an archaeologist? No. He's Anne's ideal man, I must say. But he's basically saying that that we've got like an early medieval manorial farm, huge building. And this guy, there he is, doesn't look like an archaeologist. He looks more like a dodgy porn star from the 70s. He explained the site appeared similar to high status Viking Age farms in Denmark. Because it encompasses not only the hall, but also the social structure and broader agricultural activity associated with them. And in many ways, what we're talking about when we look at the Viking period, it's almost as if we're continuing the Iron Age in a way, right? Because it's like a community sort of set landscape, which I'll go into in a short while. But it's very much based for the group of people that building's about, and this is what we're seeing. So we've got a corn dryer, we've got agricultural buildings, we've got this big hall, it's all contained, and what we would call in archaeology a counterminous area of a settlement, a developmental landscape. So that's that. And the other piece that was intriguing a few people last night was actually, and as you can tell, I'm quite relaxed today because I've got the live show up my system. We know how it goes, and I've got some acting work on the way, so I'm really pleased about that. Okay. So what we're going to do, I think if I type this in, ancient ancient Egyptian, ancient Shan, ancient Egyptian tomb found. Hopefully, we're going to get it straight away, right? Ancient Egyptian tomb found. There we go. Go. There it is. That's it. That's the one. Now, this is rather an interesting one, right? Make sure you know which mummy is your mummy, right? So the tomb of Pharaoh Tutmosis II is the first royal crypt discovered in recent years, and scientists have new powerful tools to analyze it. Well, actually, the point of this is that they've got Tutmosis II is actually is sarcophagus is actually in the they think, or they thought, that they had already found his sarcophagi, right? But it turns out they didn't. It's somebody else. So the labeling in the museum says it's Tutmosis II, but it's not actually not, right? So I think this is absolutely fascinating. If we go to, which one did I go to last night? Maybe we'll just do the Daily Express. We'll understand a bit more. So a breakthrough, finding something new, right? So interesting enough, when you're looking at ancient Egypt, this is the first proper tomb of a pharaoh to be found in 100 years. And basically, when you want to talk about it, in the year 1922, 1923, you've got the discovery of the tomb of Tutankhamun. So it's a long time coming, this really. No, we don't want to do that. Let's go to there. There we go, more images. And again, absolutely fascinating. Going down those steps, they found it. They've got it. Just to give you some facts, here we go. A location thought to be lost in history. Archaeologists recently found what they have been searching for decades: the lost tomb of Pharaoh Tutmosis II, even though they already thought they'd found him. Right? But how did they find it, especially when the body of Tutmos had long since been removed from the temple that it was laid to rest in? Big question mark. Is it the body of Tutmos in the museum? Interesting, this. So whatever you see in museums, you should sometimes question them. Is that really the pharaoh there? We know that Tutankhamun is we know that it's really Tutankhamun, but Tutmos II, there we go. So while archaeologists looking into the site in Egypt have revealed it was the remains of an ancient calf that first led them to thinking they may have found something special. The sacrificial calf, right? It was an opportunity explored with haste, given what we already know about burying pharaohs, right? So the clues of burying pharaohs in this beautiful locality. Look at that image. Typical, it's almost as if like Howard Carter's there. It's nothing's changed with those tents. It's other than the clothing, it looks the same. So they're excavating now. When a tomb is created, all materials imbued with the magic of the pharaohs have to stay with it. These are placed at a respectful distance in guardian pits or various other things. So what they've got, and I'm not going to go any much further with this now, but we unearthed a foundation deposit with a whole sacrificed calf, which seemed lavish. And we were looking for the other pit when we found an entrance buried by 1.5 meters of rockfall with a step going down, then another step and another step. Well, that's not a foundation deposit. It's something significant. Absolutely great. Let's just do a little bit more. So they found these in Theban mountains, and they've been doing a research in New Kingdom burial. Tutmosis II's burial chamber is the last missing tomb of the 18th dynasty kings of ancient Egypt. It is also the first royal tomb to be found there. There we go, in just over 100 years. There it is. They're looking in there, and the tomb, there we go, with all the rubble in it. It's there, collapsed from the ceiling and so on. Getting hard hatted up and exploring the tomb chamber is a long adrenaline burn. And as an archaeologist, I've had that adrenaline burn myself. You know, it's really strange, these things. Down in the darkness and the dust of the tomb, scraping all the debris into buckets. And, you know, you've got fragments of broken artifacts in a derelict tomb. And it goes to say, with corridors, had been damaged significantly by floodwater time and time again. And it's dating back to 1479 BC. It's over 3,500 years ago. Yeah, we've got the ceilings, the debris, the chamber, evidence of decoration, patch of a ceiling painted blue with stars. There we go. We can see it there. That's part of the ceiling. And look at that there. So they're really into something special. Really, really are into something very, very special. You know, the painting there. Sorry about the advert on the left. And again, we didn't go through and looking at all these little things. There we go. And that's basically those are the seals associated with Tutmos. That's the seal of Tutmos, and we know it's Tutmos's tomb. You know, he's there, right? So in other words, the body that they've got in the museum, and they're looking that they're going to actually find the sarcophagi of this guy now. There we go. Oh, this is really interesting. This last bit here. Finally, a further fragment was found in a separate chamber, which reads: "Great chief wife, his beloved Hatshepsut, may she live. Hatshepsut, may she be damned as well." And again, female pharaoh, which indicate that the king was married to a still living Hatshepsut, and so could only be Tutmos II. But is it the Hatshepsut that I mentioned? So basically, it's a beautiful tomb. It's a beautiful find, and may we look out for this. So that's your homework, Henry. After coming back, we want more about this. If they find any more, right? Anyway, so what I wanted to do, and then I've got to introduce the next bit, right? So I want to just have a chat, and I decided this because a few days ago I was thinking, right, we're doing the Iron Age, right? But where exactly are we going with the Iron Age? What have we actually learned about the Iron Age? I want to have this little bit of a discussion because next week we've got that exciting find, and I wanted to I'll build that up to that, which I already have, and my diary, which I had a moment ago. Well, there it is. Just a reminder that I want to. Somebody asked the question as well. What were Iron Age toilets like? Got to do that. And we have a little look at vitrified forts again with a little bit more evidence from Scotland, right? And we mentioned the Stanwick site, which is in the northeast, which was excavated by Sir Mortimer Wheeler. So we've got images with those three. But before we have those images, I just wanted us to bring us to the centre, really. And when you're understanding the Iron Age, other than who's in charge, whether it's men or women, when you look at the Iron Age, you've got to think that what is it all about, right? It's about trade. It's about all these precious minerals going around being traded, you know. And is it a period of great warfare? This is one thing that I discuss isn't the case, right? Because I see all these communities, and I see that we've got these great, huge bank and ditched enclosures, you know, these hill forts. And I think about these great things, right? And I talk about them as grain storage areas. Occasionally, some people live there, their cattle went there, and so on. And I actually thought that people find it very easy to come up with conclusions about Iron Age hill forts. Let's give them that one, right? And they're usually up in sort of bleak landscapes like Tri-Kerry on the Llŷn Peninsula. And when you're up on Maiden Castle on a nice day, it's beautiful, right? Near Dorchester, right? Two miles away from Dorchester, right? But when you think about Maiden Castle, right? It can be incredibly windswept, right? And then And this is one of the points I wanted to mention, right? Because I actually live on the top of a hill, and I just thought, well, what could this landscape have been like, 1,000 years ago? What was it like 2,000 years ago? And even if I could imagine what this landscape was like 2,000 years ago with all the trees, right? How would it have worked? Would the landscape have been a warmer landscape than it is today? Yes, it would have been. Would it be more humid? What were the winds like 2,000 years ago, right? So we've got no conception of what the landscape was like. But I can tell you one thing: these places that we think about as hill forts, these places that we think about as places that were really nice places to go to, most of the time of the year when it was windy, weren't nice places because they were windswept. And no matter what way you look at it, if you've got a roundhouse with a thatched roof and you've got a 90-mile-an-hour wind coming at you, that thatched roof ain't going to last 5 minutes. I'm sorry, it's not. Yeah, you're on top of a hill. It's just not going to last 5 minutes. You know, I've seen the destruction of the wind firsthand. We've had so many winds recently, right? And it starts to make you look at these hill forts as being extremely impractical, right? So if you go to some of the hill forts along the coast in the Vale of Glamorgan, right, such as Summerhouse Point, such as Lantern Major, such as the Bulwarks in Porthcurry, you go to these places and you go on a winter days, right, and they are very, very barren. I know there would be palisades and there would be ditches and there'd be buildings and stuff, and they'd be further inland from the coast than they are today. But nevertheless, they're not nice places to be at. So the big question is what was this landscape like? And I've just a visit, and I was just got to say hello, Tom. You chilling out a minute? Yeah, chill out. So one of the things what I wanted to do was just to shout and say what the average Iron Age person's life was like. Right, so let's go to a little bit of an image. Let's just look at a hill fort and then look at a building. That's what we're going to do. That's what we did last night. So what we did a bit of Google last night, right? I think we did. Instead of actually having images on my device here, we're back onto Amazon. So if we type in, for example, what we're going to do, we're going to type in Trier Kerry, right? To do a little bit of an impact statement, right? So Trier Kerry, I know I've mentioned Trier Kerry a few times, right? It's on the Llŷn Peninsula that sticks out into the sea below Anglesey. So it's got I need, that's it. I don't need anything more. Llŷn, there it is, image, just one single image, right? Now, there it is. Oh, which one shall I use? Now, there you go. I tell you what, right? I wouldn't want to live there. I wouldn't want to live there now. I wouldn't want to live there in the medieval period. I wouldn't want to live there in the Iron Age, right? Look at it. Would you want to live there? Even if no, you just need 1 or 2 bad days and your roof is gone and all the rest of it. So whatever these things are for, these Trier Kerry, there's over 100 buildings there, whatever, which was used over a few hundred years. But one of the things that people are actually saying is that many of these hill fort things up in the Gods were lots of them were really abandoned even before the birth of Christ, right? And people started to realize that they're not the places to be, right? So where people are living, they're living in the valleys, right? They're living in a landscape, they're farming, they're getting on with their lives, right? And they're disconnected from these things, right? It's a bit like the council offices. How many of us go down to the council office on a regular basis? Well, I know Richard does because of some groups he's involved in, but most of us don't. I know some of us might go down there and complain about our bins, but the point is, you don't go to these places if you can avoid it, right? These things, the equivalent of modern day council offices, right? Or great places that you might store your grain and stuff, whatever they are, right? Most people weren't really linked and connected with these things, and I'm saying it as it is, right? So when you think about the every normal day, so if you type in, it's quite easy to come up with. So if you type not doing that yet. the Iron Age settlements. Right. So usually, so there we go. Just come up with an image. Now look at that. Right, which one should we go with? Actually, that's a nice little one there. Nice little cute one. Right. So it's not very clear, is it? So let's just go with that one. Is it going to come up? 3, 2, 1. St. Fagans. No, we don't want to do that one. Okay. That is actually a really nice image, to be honest with you. That's a really nice one. Right. So something like this you might find when these stone Iron Age buildings, for example, on Anglesey. It looks very similar to the ones that I've actually seen, the stone Iron Age buildings, right? And you've got this really tall roof. Now, what evidence do we have for tall conical roofs? We don't, right? And I'm saying to you, right, that looks very impractical. It's too tall, right? And the one thing I do know, the wind is just going to rip the thatch off that quite easy. So what we might do is we might go with another illustration. Let's just try and find another one. Now, maybe buildings like this, which are not as tall, it's sheltered areas. And I think this is actually an image of the Iron Age village at St. Fagans before they tore it down and they built the new one. Right? I think that's what this is. I can remember going here a few times with Anne and a few other people. And you're thinking, well, this is the average everyday life of the Iron Age people, the Iron Age person, the man, the woman, the children, the elderly, and the young, right? Individual communities doing their best with the situation that they were in, right? But there is one thing that people miss out with all of these sites, right? You're not surrounded by this green idyll landscape, right? You're not in most 50% of the year, right? It's going to look nothing like that. It's going to be covered in mud. You're going to be in mud 50% of the year. And how do I know? Well, I've got a round building, right? Which we're starting to think that we've been living in West Wales for 4 years, and life is incredibly hard. And the reason why it's incredibly hard, because we've got the sheep, we've got the chickens, we've got the ducks, and we've got the turkeys. Obviously, they wouldn't have had turkeys in Iron Age Britain. But one of the things I'm actually learning, right, is that 50% of the year, all that green stuff around that building is mud. And it's not just a little bit of mud. It's several inches of mud. It's several feet of mud, right? And it's a lot of mud. And we've actually got steps. Our building's off the ground, it's on stilts. We've actually got steps leading into it, right? But it's mud, right? And you can't help it. So you've got to, I in the winter months, I may go through 2 or 3 sets of clothing every single day, right? Because they get wet, they get muddy, right? Iron Age people didn't have that opportunity, right? So these people, these people would have been incredibly muddy, and it would have been a very, very hard life for 50% of the year. So any ideas that living in an Iron Age house was idyllic and a nice thing is something that you can put out your mind straight away. These buildings were extremely dark, and a big chunk of the time in the winter months you would have been inside because it would have been raining, right? You don't want to go outside but somebody's got to look after the animals, right? So life was incredibly hard, was incredibly difficult, no matter what way you look at it, whether the temperature is 1 or 2 degrees higher than it is today. It was a very, very difficult life. So we've got to respect that. Going on to something else now, that to sort of paraphrase and try to understand the Iron Age a little bit better, is that we've been trying to connect these villages like Mere and Glastonbury. We've been trying to connect, for example, mining. We've been trying to connect iron. We've been trying to connect coinage. We've been trying to connect all these wonderful things together, right? And when we think about this, most trade would have been done not in Caliver Atrabatum, or not in this place that we're going to look at next week, which is a wonder of an Iron Age discovery, right? But lots of people would have stayed within the area they lived. And I know firsthand that sometimes I can spend about 3 or 4 hours a day just dealing with the sheep and chickens, right? And that's with modern electricity and modern gas and modern food and pre-packed food and all the rest of it, right? In the Iron Age, they had to do everything else. They had to get their own food, they had to get their own water, right? They had to prepare all of this stuff, right? So all of their time is being spent working on the land. And that's basically it. To have time to go off and trade to markets and so on, because they did exist, we now know they existed, right? Maybe 1 or 2 people might go off and the rest of you on the land all the time. People would come to you and sell their pottery. People would come to you and buy things off you. Maybe you're producing iron, or maybe you are smelting copper, or maybe you're doing something with gold, right? So this world in the Iron Age is a very, very hard world indeed, right? And it starts to make you think why Roman life was a lot better than Iron Age life, and it was better, right? Okay, the Romans, one myth is that the Romans didn't build these wonderful roads across Britain that we're told, right? Lots of them were trackways and whatever, but what they did have were lots more towns and cities, areas where you can trade, areas where you can buy pottery, loads of stuff, and your metalwork and sacks of grain. You've got surplus stored in storage buildings. This is the in safe storage buildings within regulated towns and cities, right? That's what the Roman era brought us, right? What did the Romans ever do for us? Yeah, they gave us this structure, right? I'm not saying that the Iron Age didn't have structure. The Iron Age would have had structure as it was developed into the years after the birth of Christ. I've said that. Caliber Atrabatum and his site that we're looking at next week, and Stanwick, which we're going to be doing tonight, right? So that this whole world, this whole developmental world of the Iron Age is quite simply put very, very hard to live. And maybe the idea of producing coins is a way out, is a sense of fantasy, is a fantasy world. We know that our Iron Age people are extremely skilled. They're very advanced. They're able to create artwork which is unbelievable. And you see that on their coins. Some of the coins that our people are actually producing are far better than some Roman coins being produced around the birth of Christ, for example. So we're seeing that. But we're also seeing that if the Romans hadn't have invaded, things would be very similar as they are today, because we would have had Christianity eventually, because the Irish had Christianity. Where did they get it from? Where did the Irish get their technology from? Right, the same place that we did. We did evolved it, and not being reliant upon the Romans. So what we're going to do now, I think that's a brilliant place to stop, because we'll do all the other bits and pieces. We'll have a 15-minute break. But before we have our 15-minute break, I don't need to change anything over. I want to know if there's anything that anyone's got to say. And Richard, I have sent you some stuff via email, but I don't know where you've been. So
Hey,
I have sent you some stuff. I started sending you the Barron District stuff.
yeah, I know. I started doing that.
Oh, by the way, I'm struggling. Don't forget, you've got to leave a page for Article 1. I'm still trying to find it. Unless you've got it.
No,
Anyway.
not guilty.
Oh, Grace. My first article for this bloody book, and I can't find it. Right. Okay then. Right. Anyway, Richard, anything you want to say?
No. Interesting.
Good. So latrines after the break, Stanwick Roman fort, and what else did I say we were doing? Oh yeah.
The only thing I was
fort in Scotland. Right, go on.
The only thing I was going to say was you were on about that, big fort on top of a hill, and what was
Kerry.
No, and I suppose perhaps it wasn't a habitation. I don't know. That's all I was going to say. Perhaps
No,
it,
no, no.
it,
This is the big debate because
it could be
some
like, it could almost be like, you know, a site, you know, like the White Horse, or, you know, just some demarcation of land, you know, that was
yeah,
high up and was sort of symbolic or significant.
it meant something to them. It meant, and
Yeah.
lots of these places we see abandoned by the birth of Christ. When you think about it, let's just let's just make a point a minute, right? I want to make a point, right? Let's just do this little point. And I think Goff's asleep. I think he is. I have that habit on people. Right. So if we have Maiden Castle, right? Now just look at this image, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now we don't have evidence for Maiden Castle looking like that, but I can tell you now, right? In the winter months, that would be brown. It would be a mud bath, and
Mm.
that and the other thing as well is that thing isn't based on stone, right? It's
No,
based on mud. That's one muddy mound,
right,
right?
no.
It's all mud, and I'm sorry to say, right, that would just be a I would argue with anyone to say that I'm wrong because I'm not wrong. I've seen it. I know it. I live it. Right. All you need is a load of animals, children walking back and forth. Right. It's a mud bath. That whole thing
I,
would be covered
I,
in mud. I would not want to live there. I'm sorry.
yeah, the field near us, you know, that is our recreation field. Um, you can't go on it, you know. Yeah, I haven't been able to go on it since Christmas because you're sliding all over the place, you
And
know,
how
with
many
the
people is
mud.
that, Anne? Only a few people. You put 100 people there. You
Well,
got big
no,
trouble there.
a lot of people go over there because of
Yeah.
walk their dogs. So
Can you
it's quite
imagine?
cute. But yeah, I mean, you know, for the size of it, it's only
Yeah.
because they've cordoned off areas, you know, they kind of control the amount of people that go on it. But you can, yeah,
Do you
it's
know, for
awful.
Yeah, do you know, for example, entranceways into these settlements would be mud baths, right?
Hmm.
And basically we've got 21 sheep, and our sheep have completely grazed every single blade of grass um over three
Oh,
acres, right? There's no grass to be grazed. It's basically it's just well, there is grass there, but the
yeah.
grass has been
You gotta
grazed,
give
right?
them
So
bales, have you? Gotta
oh
give
yeah,
them
we've been
hay.
giving them a bale a day now because
Oh,
there's no more grass. So the point is
oh,
that's 22 sheep, right?
yeah.
Um, if you've got a big community, right, there's a lot more sheep.
Hmm.
Um, and you know,
Hmm.
anyway,
Yeah.
anyway,
All
thanks for that.
right.
And anything from you, Henry?
No, nothing at all.
Okay, fair enough. And Goff, anything from you? We'll have a 15-minute break in a moment.
And for me, thank you.
Good. 15-minute break,
Okay.
folks. Well,
Thank
it's
you.
eight.
Thank you.
It's 8:05. We'll be back at 8:20.
All
Thank you
right
very
then.
much.
I'm gonna make a coffee. Thank you. Actually, I'll put the oh, I might wait. I might wait.
Starry, starry night, paint your phallus blue and grey. What do I do there? Oh, there we go. Doesn't that look good, Anne? Are you all there?
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yep.
new. You're never there, Anne. Anne, can I ask you a question?
Ooh,
You,
what?
right, you're in a live show. How are you going to get there? Because you're not driving anymore.
Um, well, I gotta go on the train or the bus.
All right, then. Well, we're going to have to make sure that, yeah, you don't hang around. So if you're going to do that, you've got to get back on the train.
I'm not sure
No?
what to do, to be honest. I did book a night over, a stopover, because I thought
Well,
maybe that lady was going to come and join me.
yeah, Julia's going to be there. She's going to be there at Chepstow.
But she might have got her own place, you know.
Well, you need to be speaking to the woman, for God's sake.
Yeah.
You-
I could go on the train and come back
yeah,
on the train on the
yeah.
same day, but I gotta go to Newport and change.
No, I would stay over.
I know, but yeah. But I got 4 tickets. I got 4 tickets. I was
Anyway,
gonna,
let's crack on, folks.
yeah.
Otherwise, we'll be all day, my dear, my dear. Right, which will I was going to do vitrified. We've got the vitrified thingamajig. We've got Stanwick or the latrine. Right, let's get the latrine out the way. Right, here we go. Sharing. Now, it was like somebody said last night. They said. Oh, hang on a minute. Hang on. Technology there. Good. Somebody asked me last night. My God, that's big, isn't it? Right, okay. Stop share. Somebody asked me last night, what were the latrines like in a bit of a discussion, an inject, actually. So what we're going to do is, where's my images? There. Where are we? There. Are you seeing this image now?
Yeah.
Good. Right. Now this is the Butser project, right? And it's a site that was set up by Peter Reynolds, an archaeologist, to do reconstruction archaeology. He's no longer with us now. And they experimented with 2 types of toilets that they thought may have existed in the Iron Age, right? Well, this is overkill. So if we think about archaeological evidence for toilets, we think about archaeological evidence for latrines, right? Bear with me a second. I just swap over. I'm giving you the wrong thing. So I'm taking now. There you go. Right, sorry about this, folks. So Peter Reynolds, this was on Peter Reynolds' project at Butser. So obviously Peter Reynolds would have been involved in building this one. But what they thought, this is actually starting to fall apart. So they actually thought, what we're going to do is we're going to build something like this. And I tell you a little bit of a backstory with this, 2 backstories. And obviously, how do we know that latrines may have looked like this? Well, if you've got a hole in the ground And there's a couple of post holes above, right? You can assume that that may have been a latrine, right? So that's the first thing. Now, one thing that we do know is,
Oh, Tom's there, what?
yeah, yes, I'm teaching on you in a minute. So come in. Down. Right. So basically, what we've got on some of these sites, we've got latrines, the cess in the ground, for example. You know, the broken down human waste and so on. So this is what we got. This is what we find on Iron Age archaeological sites. So the post holes might indicate the buildings may have been similar to this, right? So the point of this is that they decided to establish and reconstruct one of these things, and this dates back to 2022, and they're referring to this as the Bog Blog Building, an Iron Age toilet. So obviously this example, the earlier example, right, this one has been completely over engineered, whereas this one looks more simple. And what we've got is that in the front, we've got a little bit of sort of a windbreak there. Now, the one thing that this is missing as a reconstructed project is a little seat for people to sit on. Now, whether they had or whether they didn't, we don't know, right? Because that evidence is not going to be with us at all. So we could scrap and think they may have looked like this. They may have looked. This is a completely reconstructed form. Now, what they thought about this building, going through the notes here, is once the walls were fully wattled, we considered our options for the roof. Now, when they were thinking about the roof, they thought, do we do what this here again, which looks like it's over-engineered and very heavy? Because one thing about this is that when water gets into this, it makes the roof unsafe. Right, so they thought, right, okay, let's think about having a skin roof. But then they actually realized that after the leather skins had actually been tied into place, for the time being, they act as a fantastic roof that's waterproof, windproof, and interesting to look at. However, the skins will start to rot. So what they did, they actually started to add pitch on the top of this, which could be tree sap, to create a solid waterproof layer that will protect the skins. So that's exactly what they did. Now, this is all experimental archaeology. Now, one of the things with experimental archaeology, it's experimental. We don't know if people had these specific buildings in the Iron Age, but it's very likely that they would have. Now, back to the point that I made earlier on, these places were extremely muddy, and to go back and forth to the toilet, you're going to have a muddy trail. So if you're having to do your number twos once a day, that's one person walking back and forward to this toilet in muddy conditions. And if you've got 10 people, that's 10 sets of prints back and forth to the toilet, right? And then where did they go for a pee? And all of these questions that we might not have answers yet, but the perceived wisdom is that they may have had tiny little like latrines like this in the past. So then what we've got is the next bit. Now, I wanted to bring you this, and this ties in with something that we've already done as well. So I have put some structure in here tonight. So this starts off with me, and it goes on. It says, archaeologists solve ancient mystery of melted Iron Age fort. And we've mentioned this before. I don't know if you've heard, you've met Judith, haven't you? And Judith said, I want to know about these vitrified forts. And this is what they are. They're called vitrified forts. And what that basically means is that they found embankments of these forts that had been deliberately set alight. And the headlines for this are, archaeologists solve, or they pretend to solve, ancient mystery of melted Iron Age fort. Have they or haven't they? Now, this example, this site is a very bleak landscape. Back to what I said earlier on, folks. I said about these hill forts were in the bleakest of environments, because if you move on, right, look at that. It's on the top of a hill. It's surrounded today by woodland and so on, and forests, but it's overlooked by higher ranges as well. So you can imagine that this is gonna be a bit of a problem. So, but that's going on what we've already said, and we've discussed that, right? So this site is known as Dun Dair Dial. An archaeologist of a melted Iron Age fort. Now, archaeologists have made a breakthrough and examining these sites. And what they've done archaeological excavations at these sites. So they're looking at these stones and so on. And strangely enough, I haven't actually got an image of this melted vitrified stone, but we will look at this again. But this is the excavation. So archaeologists have made a breakthrough in solving the ancient mystery surrounding an Iron Age fort in the Highlands that was burned at such high temperatures that parts of it melted. Now, we're not talking about the soil melting, right? We're talking about the stone melting, the stone fusing. I don't know if you've ever seen episodes of Time Team where they've been excavating pottery kilns. And at those said pottery kilns, they found that the clay and the glaze has actually melted and fused together like one big sort of the temperatures got so high, so in a pottery kiln, pottery kilns, you're looking at about 900 to about 1,000 degrees C, no more than that, right? So when you go above that, to 1,100, 1,450, 1,500, that's enough to melt iron, right? So if you can get the temperatures high enough, you can melt the embankments of these things, right? That's what they're saying. So and over the years, right, and this is one actually Arthur C. Clarke comes into this, right? Arthur C. Clarke did some work on this as well, but Arthur C. Clarke is no longer with us. He died in 2008. But anyway, that great experimenter that used to be on TV. Oh, what's that?
One of my favourite authors.
One of his favourite authors, Arthur C. Clarke. Did you ever come across him talking about vitrified stone, melting stone, and he couldn't come up with a solution? No? No, anyway. So over the years, a number of experiments have been carried out at Dun Dair Dial in Glen Nevis to establish how temperatures hot enough to fuse stones together in a process called vitrification were achieved at this fort, at this location in the gods of Scotland, right? So Dun Dair Dial, which was built around 500 years BC and served as both an Iron Age fort and then later on a Pictish citadel, is one of at least, wait for it, there's not one vitrified fort, and this goes into the story. There's actually over 60 that they've identified. So across Britain, we've got 5,000 hill forts that we've identified, and there's probably about a good 1,000 in Scotland. So 60% of them have got. Now these are the ones they've examined. 60 of the ones that they've examined. Maybe they've examined 500. Right, 60 of those have actually signs of vitrification. So that's like 10%. And why? It's not accidental, right? What's going on? And my argument was that if these sites were deliberately set alight at such high temperatures, it took time to get those types of temperatures. It takes days, right? And you can't have rain. You've got to have good conditions up in this landscape. It rains a lot. It's a bit like West Wales. So writer and broadcaster Arthur C. Clarke said the country's vitrified forts were the biggest mystery that he had encountered, and suggested that Stone Age people would need to be equipped with laser to achieve the results. But he didn't really believe. I've been told that it was just one of his suggestions, right? Now, to be able to set light to these forts and to have the temperatures required, you need tons and tons of timber piled up on the external and the inside of the embanking which is full of stones, right? You need all this timber, right? And you need to be able to set light to it, and it's going to take days for them to get in excess of 1,000, 100,000, 200,000, 300 degrees C to actually get the stones to fuse together. This is the point, right? So conspiracists have actually come up with the idea that the only way you can do this is, in fact, using an ancient superweapon. But why? Because the problem is, when they've excavated these sites, where's the evidence of the brutal melting of people that were defending these sites? So, in other words, let's just calm down a little bit, Carl. Right? To set light to one of these sites, if you're going to attack it, you need to say to the defenders, "Hey, look, guys, right? What we're going to do, we're going to set light to your site, right? What we need to do, we need to pile up timber on the inside and on the outside and on top, right? And if you give us a few days, we'll set light to your defenses, and then we'll come in and kill you, right?" It's not really plausible. So, in other words, this was deliberate. This was deliberate of the people creating these sites, in my eyes, right? So, archaeologists from Forest Enterprise Scotland, working on behalf of Stirling University, and a squad of volunteers drawn from the area, have been able to determine the source of the heat, or have they? Now, the way it explains, right now, is the whole of the palisade around the top, right, as the whole thing being set alight, right? If it had, you're probably talking about forests, right? Whole forests. So it is now believed. Wait for it, guys. So what we're going to do? Here we go. It is now believed a timber superstructure supported by the ramparts was set alight, with the fire burning down on the stones and heating them up like an oven, according to Matt Ritchie, who's is quite an eminent archaeologist in Scotland. So if we draw this here to get an idea what this idea of vitrification is like, let's just do a little bit of a drawing, folks. So let's just get the black there, right? So let's just so say that's the stone wall, right? That's the stone wall. So what you then need to do, I'm gonna have to put yellow. You need to pile up logs, 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 and then they got evidence that it's burnt from above, right? So what you did then do, you pile up timber like that all the way around, right? You're probably gonna have to do this as well, right? Yep. Then you're gonna have to set light to the timber, right? Somehow, right? So the flames burn, right? But they're saying that it's also burning from above as well, so it burns downwards, right? So it heats that. So in other words, this is the evidence of the vitrification. So can you see my point, folks? And they've gone through so much effort to do this. It's incredible effort. Why did they need to do it? Like why? We don't have the answer to why, right? It's just one of those weird little stories in archaeology, right? But it's fact. It's not archaeology fiction. It's archaeological fact. So Mr. Ritchie said tests had shown blocks of molten stone, right? Now, what we need to do, folks, let's just go off this a minute. What does molten stone look like, right? Let's just have a little look. Let's go to good old wiki. You go. Molten stone. We didn't do this last night because I think we had too much going on last night. So we got what does molten stone look like? Molten stone. I haven't looked this up, so we're gonna have a little look. Molten stone. Images. Okay. You can see that there, molten stone, right? It's like these are the temperatures. That's molten stone, molten rock. So that's what we're talking about. That's been heated up. That's what molten looks like when it's heated. That's what rock looks like when it's heated up. And can I explain this a little bit? Yeah. All right, see a minute. Right. Okay. So you couldn't get a bottle of sauce, could you? Yeah. All right, see in a minute. Oh, anyone? Yeah. Hang on, folks. Yeah. See in a minute. Sorry, folks, about that. Oh no, it's okay. Bottle of sauce would be good. Cheers. Sorry about that, guys. This is what molten rock looks like, right? I've excavated at a number of archaeological sites where you've got furnaces, right? And if you ever see this very image or this in the archaeology, you know that you've got a furnace, okay? You know that you've got a pottery kiln, right? Or you know you've got, for example, an iron kiln, right? Or anything like that. You know that incredible temperatures have been associated. And this is what you see you see this in the ground. So the ground is lined with stone like this, which has been heated at incredible temperatures, right? This is what they're saying these vitrified forts look like. You know, on the outside, this is what these vitrified forts look like. So again, Mr. Ritchie's said tests had shown blocks of molten stone were formed in anaerobic conditions without oxygen and likely caused by a tremendous heat from above. Now, I'm struggling with that because you need oxygen. You need oxygen for the fire to start, right? Yeah, you need oxygen for fire. But I think what it's getting at, and can you remember we've discussed pottery before, and I've said that if for example, this is a good one. Not get rid of that a minute. Well, we'll keep that there a minute. So what you need is in this area here, right? There's no oxygen flow. So what's happening is the heat is baking, right? It's slowly rising up against the wall, right? That's the point. I think this is what they're talking about anaerobic conditions. And if we clear that a minute, right? There's two types of pottery kiln, right? There's pottery kilns, right, which are called oxidized pottery kilns, where basically the flow of air flows one way and it goes out, right, which is known as oxidized pottery. And usually when you get oxidized pottery, it's red or yellow or orange, right? But if you get reduced pottery, right, it's basically where, if we get rid of that, it's basically where you've got a kiln, right, and the heat has got nowhere to go. And it's got to slowly make its way out, right? So, and this is what makes the pottery black or grey, or a very rough sort of grey blacky colour, right? So that's known as reduced pottery, and that's what's at work here when we're looking about vitrification. Nearly couldn't get the word out there. So this is a tremendous heat, and it's obviously tremendous heat being caused by the lack of oxygen within this whole thing. So the wood's already set alight, and then you're piling up, reducing the oxygen from the outside, and it's baking and baking, and the temperatures get higher and higher. So what we're talking about is if you kept on adding timber on the outside, the temperature in the middle is going to get hotter and hotter and hotter, and this is going to be the end result, right? So if we go back to the fort again, right? If we go back to that lovely image of the fort, you know, this landscape there, absolutely beautiful, really, really wonderful landscape there. So Mr. Ritchie said, I don't know if he's related to a mate of mine, Guy. He'd said it was possible that the burning structure may have once stored this site itself. They're saying that this may have actually been a fort that projected grain or cattle, right? But the outside, right, the outside of the defences, right, have been vitrified. So this is really exciting. I think it really is. Not only do we know, not only do we know now have a better understanding of how vitrification occurred, but we can also know. Start again. We can also now visualize these hill forts as stone vitrified citadels, which were solid. You know, the walls. This is what I'm putting across. These were solid. They were erect and solid, and they would last a long time. The problem is when you're in this type of landscape. I'm up and prancing around at this minute. In this landscape, it's very wet. Yeah. So if you put a stone on top of a stone, or you put a stone on top of a stone, and you keep going, right, and you don't have mortar, right, Eventually, you know, with erosion, you can only get a certain height when you're building dry stone, right? Mind you, if you build it curved, you could build conical shaped towers like blocks, which are dry stone, which are about 15 meters in height. Now, the point is with all of this, if you use mortar, right, even if you've got technology to use cement, right, because it's so wet, the rain will batter that cement and you won't be able to have render on the outside. So what is the solution? You can't use earth because earth will just erode away. So what is the solution in these types of landscapes? To vitrify the walls. So it's one solid, erect piece of rock that is the external defenses of this landscape, right? And also, it's not going to be battered by the wind, so you're going to be sheltered within as well. Of course, the mystery of why the forts were burned remains unsolved. I've given you one answer. Mr. Ritchie says it remains unsolved. He said, was it intended or accidental? Definitely intended. It can't be accidental. You can't do this accidental.
Yeah.
He also says, was it an act of destruction? It's a lot of bloody timber. I'm gonna go no. Is it sort of as a you capture this site and then you set light to the defenses over a few days to make the defenses solid? That don't make sense. No. Is it an act of ceremony? Is it an act of remembrance of a revered king who abandoned his site? Right? We may never know, he said. For radiocarbon tests carried out on a nearby peat bog, which contained a thick layer of soot, suggest the site was probably built around 500 years BC. The hill fort is overlooked by Ben Nevis. You can imagine it's overlooked by Ben Nevis, one of the big mountains of Britain, right? And has a breathtaking view over the surrounding glens. And there are many other vitrified forts in Aberdeen. Now, the vitrified forts, you can find some in Wales, which I didn't know, France, Germany, and Ireland, and one or two in England. Apparently, there's one in Huddersfield. This is why Judith mentioned it. And by setting light to these localities, is it to sort of say that your location, your site is immortal? It's an immortal location. This is why you've set light to it. Now, that's a little quick thing. I want to say. In the minds of me, right, and in some other archaeologists, building things out of earth are permanent. Building things out of stone are not permanent, because when you build things out of stone, they've got to erode into earth. Do you see my point? If you build a stone monument, it means it's going to decay. If you build it in earth, then the earth will always be there, and the earth is in the soil, so that's permanent. That's like a Native American way of looking at things. Earth, the landscape, that's permanent. Building obelisks of stone is not permanent because they're going to go back to earth, right? So you've got those different ways of looking at it. Now, finally, folks, right? And we may actually be finished at 9 tonight, so there we go. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at, well, that was the aim, just in case I've got acting work coming up. So the last thing, I want to do Stanwick. Now, let's just do Stanwick, right? I don't know if any of you know where Stanwick is, but it's up north, right? And it was a site excavated by Sir Mortimer Wheeler. And it's associated with Carter Mandua, and it's also associated with her husband. But we're not going to do too much of that Carter Mandua stuff today, because that's our Roman period, whatever. Right. So what it is, we've got a couple of images here, and we're going to go up to near Darlington, where you've got this place called Stanwick. Now, that there is a section of the defences excavated by Sir Mortimer Wheeler. Stanwick Iron Age fortifications. Stanwick Camp, a huge Iron Age hill fort, sometimes, but not always, considered an oppidum. Right. Now, what is an oppidum? Oppidum is the name of an Iron Age town or settlement, and this is part of the Stanwick thing, right? It's much bigger than this, and let's give you an idea, right? This is only a few acres. What you're saying, yeah, only a few acres. You can't put it all on one slide. It's not possible. So well, you could, but you wouldn't be able to see much. So this comprises, wait for it, right? To walk around the external area of the defences is a whopping 9 kilometres, or just over 5.5 miles. Do you know the top of Maiden Castle is 1 mile? And that's 50 acres in area, 55 acres in area. Um, but this one is a whopping, wait for it, if you walked around the entire of the upper part of this, the external defences, which is 5.6 miles, right? It contains an area at Stanwick in the Iron Age, right? This would have been a huge city if it was allowed to develop, right? This was 740 acres in area. Now I've no idea I've no idea what 740 acres. I've no idea what 740 acres is, right? But today that would be a medium-sized town in Britain, right? It wouldn't be a massive town in Britain, but be fairly big. Now, this Stanwick itself is massively mentioned, associated with the Romans, and that's why I didn't want to go too much into it, but I wanted to mention it anyway, because this links us in with the site next week. Right, so we'll have done two. We'll have done Caliva Atrabatum. We'll have done this one, which is Stanwick, and the site beginning with a D next week. And I know, Henry, you're not allowed to do any research and find that out, but I know you will by next week, and don't spoil it. So you'd be naughty if you do tell it. Oh, hang on a minute. Let's challenge it. Let's challenge him. Can he find the name of this place for next week? And if he does, he gets top points. Right, but listen to the lecture for now on, because we're nearly finished. So we know that this site itself was massive by around AD 51. The Romans had already been in Britain for the best part of 8 years, and actually Cartamandua had been friends with the Romans. This is why she was able to keep control of this great town, this Oppidum, right? So it's near a place which I'll be doing a video on for my daily blogs, which is Pierce Bridge, which is a Roman site. It's got a bit of a Roman, it's got a fort and a bridge there. But the defences, you can actually see from the aerial view, you can see the ditches there, and you can see the banking. Some of the banking there. Hang on a minute. If we draw around that, and not that bit, go away. We've got the banking there, right? Some of the banking itself. Is still a whopping, in places, wait for it, 5 meters high. So that's how high some of the banking is today, 5 meters high. And that is after nearly 2,000 whopping years. So it's really, really survived. Absolutely amazing. Most of this site hasn't even been looked at. We know that, there can be all sorts of things going on there, right? So this is the largest Iron Age settlement in Britain, and we've got no idea how big the population was there. We've got no idea. And the word Stanwick means stone settlement, right? And why is it known as stone settlement? Well, I can answer that now, because when Sir Mortimer Wheeler excavated it, the last massive excavations that he did in the 1950s, right? Stanwick, stone ditch, stone banking. And look at this. That must have been really impressive going around the whole thing. The stone bank there, the stone rampart.
It's
cut into solid
Northamptonshire.
rock.
It's Northamptonshire.
Amazing, isn't it? Yes, you are correct.
Right.
Near Darlington, Richmond. So amazingly enough, what they also found at this site, they found wonderful hoards, and again we'll go into this again, but they found wonderful hoards at this site, lots of iron and bronze artifacts, and also an image of a bronze horse's head, which actually, strangely enough, I forgot to put this on the slides actually. But if you go to if you type in Stanwick, and you go to the Wikipedia entry, there's a beautiful image of where is it there? There it is. That's it. Oh, is it coming up? Yeah, look at that there. This is basically they've only excavated bits of it, but this is a nice little horse design that was actually this is associated with a bucket. Wonderful. So Stanwick itself was the site of Sir Mortimer Wheeler's last major excavation between 1951 and 1952, and what he then did was, if we go back to there, that was his excavations, and actually you can sort of still see this on the site today. And Wheeler argued that the site started off as a small site naturally, but as things developed, right, it turned into this massive, whopping acreage, and the massive whopping acreage, which had this bank and ditch around it of 740 acres. So it naturally developed over time with his excavations, right? And finally, they were still building this site, this Iron Age site, because they had been initially friends of the Romans until AD 72. But obviously, Cartimandua sort of rolled on to being against the Romans eventually, because probably the Romans realized that she's a woman, and the Romans didn't like women in charge. So during the course of the excavations, that this is what Sir Mortimer Wheeler he excavated a 15-meter long part of the ditch. Remember, this is the ditch itself goes on for 5.6 miles. Excavated 15 meters. You can imagine not even 0.01% has been excavated yet. So he partly reconstructed this, and you've got the wonderful length of dry stone revetted wall from the fallen stones found in the ditch. And can you imagine if this had been vitrified? There'd be a solid wall around the outside now today. It'd be amazing, right? But it wasn't vitrified. It was made of dry stone, and eventually, it decayed. The English Heritage has actually scheduled this site. The whole thing scheduled. All 740 acres of it. Absolutely amazing. And so one couple of weird things. When Sir Mortimer was excavating within this vicinity, he found an iron sword, which was extremely well preserved because it was still in its ash wood scabbard. And he also found, interesting enough, a severed head nearby. Now, but that was associated with an entranceway. Was the severed head meant to be associated with the entranceway? We don't know. But so Mortimer Wheeler concluded that Stanwick had been the rebel stronghold of Venutius, who had been the husband of the pro-Roman Brigantian, the queen of the Brigantes, Cartimandua, who turned against her husband because Cartimandua was so pro-Roman. When she captured Caraticus, she handed Caraticus over to the Romans. And finally to be said about this today, that if we grab that little bit of a wall there, finally to be said, they did excavate here in the 1980s and up to 1986, and one of the massive enigmatic finds with this is that they found an adult male burial at the rear of a rampart in the fortifications, where a horse's head had been carefully placed upon the body. So in other words, we've got a set of human remains, and they buried a horse's head on top of the individual, which is quite really interesting, which is a really interesting part of archaeological evidence from this wonderful period of the Iron Age. So what we're going to do, we're going to call that a day now, and I'm going to find out if my homies have any questions for me. I did say homies, and nothing else. So, Anne, anything you'd like to say?
It has got lakes as well. It's got lakes. It sort of reminds me of where we went before.
Yeah.
Because it's
Well,
near,
lakes.
well, it's
Oh,
not
right.
far. It's not far away, really. So it almost looks like
Hang on a minute. This place is miles away from Somerset.
no Somerset. You know, Fen, the Fen.
Oh, Flag Fen.
Yeah, Flag Fen. It's not that far away. And well,
It bloody is. If you walk here on a Wednesday
if you walked
afternoon.
it would be. But
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe it's just it's quite interesting that it's like a carrying on, from it's like a development beyond that Flag Fen. Or was it pre-Flag Fen? I don't know.
No, this is post Flag Fen now.
Post there. All right then.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
Lovely
No,
hair, boys, and
Tom just said you got lovely hair.
oh,
Anyway, so thanks for that, Anne. It's a bit further away from Flag Fen. It's more than a Wednesday walk, Anne, but Flag Fen is a different date. That's Bronze Age. This is Iron Age.
Oh,
Right.
Oh well, yes, it's a development from.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think it's really, clever.
And we've got the site for next
Specification.
week. We've got the site for next week, which I'm really begging and wanting to show you next week. I'm really wanting to show you that. But anyway, Anne, right.
Okay.
Thanks for that, Anne. And Goff, thanks for I don't know if you sent the shekels over, but I think Goff was in the process of doing it. Yeah, you had the right number, Goff. We'll go over to Henry now.
No, that was just very interesting. The burning of the camps or forts.
It's amazing.
So
Yeah.
many different theories. Is it something about making your status known, or?
Well, yeah, but it's this sense of immortalization.
Yeah, that basically you've made your mark and everyone knows it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be there. It's going to show off and be there forever. And it is going to be there forever. Burning, melting rock. It's like the King Canute of the Iron Age. Thou shalt go, thou shalt move, and nobody's going to come near me. And the waves are displaced from my being. King Canute was not able to do that. But the thing is, with this, right? With this, melting stone. Having power over Mother Nature. How powerful a symbol is that? Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. By the way, I'm not going to ask you now, but if you manage to get that name of the site in the week, right, beginning with a D, ending with an S, right, I will be dead impressed, Henry. Don't do it now. Right. Richard, anything from you, love? Richard.
That'll be interesting.
Good. Well, you going to say anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, then. That's it, then. Fair enough.
I gotta go. I got my wife screaming at me.
Oh,
all right, then.
right, okay.
Well,
Are you
well, I
going
just
somewhere?
gotta.
Or is it something on?
I just gotta go over to Goff. I got. You may as well stay for a minute. Gotta go over to Goff and ask him. By the way, Goff, give my love to Alan. Goff, anything you want to say?
No, there's lots of various different subjects. Very interesting. But
Thank you very much.
Interesting was the latrine, because when you were on about it, it reminded me of those scenes from Glastonbury concert.
Oh yeah.
With all the mud and everyone, the toilets overflowing, and it must have been the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. Carry on.
No.
Sounded much more hygienic, really.
Hang on a minute. That is another point. If you have these things and they're based on rock underneath, right? And you've got a downpour of rain, right? Goff is dead right. That it's just going to flow out, and that gives you more of the expression of mud. And the other thing as well is we've done everything in West Wales to put stones everywhere, right? But no matter what we do, it's mud. It's mud for 6 months of the year.
Hay. You need hay, but you can't afford.
Oh no!
it.
It just gets absorbed in the mud. It just gets clogged in and absorbed in the mud. It's just it's horrible. And as Goff mentioned, the toilet is 100% right.
I
Right,
see.
anything else?
See you, Richard. Go on.
Yeah.
Go
Hang
on.
on,
Right.
we'll go together. I'm just finally
I'm
off.
away.
Anything else?
Nothing for me. So long.
Ta-ra. Ta-ra.
Hang on a minute. Are you? I don't want to
People,
say
when they
goodbye
gotta
together.
go and watch their wives, they gotta go.
Hang on a minute, Goff. Do you want to say anything else before we finish?
No, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's a bloody nightmare, isn't it? Anyway, thanks for your continued support.
I'm
Don't
going
you
away.
laugh. Thanks for your continued support, and I will see you all next Wednesday. Thank you very much.
If I get the name of this subject for next week, can I have my money back?
What?
Oh my bloody god! If I say yes, it means that Henry get no. It's not happening. That's £100 I'll be down. No.
All right. Good night.
No,
Good night.
God. It's been great. No, Anne. No, Henry. I'll see you next week.
Good
Oh,
night. Yep.
you never guess what?
What?
A man came into
Anyway, no,
my house.
Goff and Henry.
Bye.
A man came
No,
into my house today, and he
yeah,
was
go.
from Crawley Town, and he was
What?
He was 6'9" and from Crawley Town.
Oh, you really want to know that? Right. On that note, I'm off, and I will see you. I will see,
Oh,
see you next
bye-bye.
weekend. No, Henry. No. My God,
Bye.
my head's gone. I need to put my head in a corner. Shower. Anyway, night, folks. We're going to call it a night now, and many thanks for your support. Thank you very much. Thank you, and we're done. We're done tonight, and I'm just going to quickly look at see if anyone's put any messages up online. I've not been. Oh, hang on a minute. There we go. Oh yeah, Dodgy Git's on there. I'm only. Yeah, Tom was on his way. Anyway, thank you very much, folks. Diolch yn fawr chi, gwelwch chi eto, and thank you very much for watching Dodgy Git, and we'll see you next week. Thank you very much. Good night. Night, folks. Nothing in the chat on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nothing in the chat on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Nostar, diolch yn fawr chi, gwelwch chi eto.